Welcome back to the Aesthetic Edit podcast. We are so excited because Savannah's back today.
I'm back as a married woman.
You are a wife, girl.
I know. I'm not going to stumble anymore on saying my name is Savannah Barano. We started saying that from the beginning of the podcast episodes because we thought it'd be easier than me shifting my last name halfway through the season. But now I'm not going to actually stumble because my last name actually is Barano now.
You are a married woman.
It's crazy.
Can you tell us your favorite memory from the wedding day?
Definitely the private last dance that we did. So, and that was both of ours because we were like, when we were driving to the hotel afterwards, we were like debriefing the whole day. We were like, what was the favorite part? I mean, of course, the ceremony, but after everything was kind of done and everybody was getting ready to go outside to do the grand exit and get their sparklers and everything, me and Christian snuck away and went back into the chapel where we did our ceremony. And then our DJ followed to bring a speaker and then left, and we just danced, and we danced to All Yourn by Tyler Childers.
Oh my God.
And it was just like the most romantic and like sentimental moment for us just to have nobody else in the room with us, and we could just giggle and have fun and dance just by ourselves. So it
sounds beautiful.
just to like reminisce on the day. So it was probably my favorite part of the whole day.
Oh my gosh. It was a gorgeous wedding, and you guys were so sweet. I loved the ceremony. I loved the reception.
I'm glad you liked it.
And as soon as you went on your exit to Mexico, you know what I did?
What'd you do?
You guys, I can see. I got LASIK. And because when we were in Vegas, we had this whole shenanigans happen where my contacts got messed up. Long story short, kind of ruined my mood for the whole trip. And I was like, you know what? I've had contacts for 17 years. It's time.
It's time.
And remember the lady pulled us aside in the hallway?
We met somebody in the hallway and she was telling us all about it. And she was like, y'all just need to get LASIK because we both struggle with our eyes. And you did the dang thing.
Yeah. It was a 3-minute in and out procedure. I swear to you, it was so easy.
I'm so jealous.
There was literally no downtime. All I had to do was go to sleep that night. And then I woke up the next morning and I cried because I could actually see without contacts.
Cute.
That was so cool. So if you wear contacts or glasses, couldn't recommend LASIK enough.
I'm obsessed. I'm going to be next. I'm going to do that soon.
The other update that's happening while you were out, we posted a reel about it.
Oh my gosh, let's talk about it.
You can now search Instagram the same way you use Google. You can search through keywords. So TikTok's been doing this a while.
Yeah.
But Instagram now has the search function, which is so cool.
Yeah. And if you've been listening to our podcast, if you've been following us for a while, you know, like that's one of our main things with social media is it's becoming the new search engine. And the main thing was TikTok specifically because you could truly treat it as Google. Search whatever you wanted. It'll pull up all of these videos using the keywords and you'll be able to find it immediately. No matter what it is, whatever industry, whatever topic. Now Instagram's doing the same thing, which is so incredible.
Yeah.
What we predicted is coming true.
It's coming true. Instagram, TikTok is the new Google. And it says, you know, ask AI, Meta, something like that. Yeah. But when you type in a keyword, we did Botox Dallas, plastic surgeon Dallas, and you can pull up accounts through the Instagram algorithm.
Really cool for people in the aesthetic industry.
Oh, 1,000%.
Life changing.
It's going to be great.
Okay. In addition to your LASIK, what else have you been thinking about getting? I know we've talked about this. Let's tell the audience.
Okay. So our guest today is actually one of the first people I spoke to about this.
Yes.
But I have a deviated septum. And as you guys may or may not notice, I also was a singer growing up. And one of my biggest pet peeves is I have a little bit of a nasal voice at times. So I've been wanting to get this fixed. So I got a consult for a rhinoplasty. So I have photos to share. It's honestly so cool, you guys, how technology works these days. It blows my mind. But basically, during the consult, the surgeon mapped out what the nose would look like afterwards. So that got me thinking about Dr. Saman because he has been doing this now for a very long time, at least a decade, and he is so talented. And I'm just so excited to bring him into the show today because he actually started his practice here in the Dallas area. He was one of the first clients at my first medical sales job. He's a board certified facial plastic surgeon and board certified in head and neck cancer. He's here from New York City, and we're so excited for you guys to meet him and learn more about his story. So Dr. Saman, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Welcome to the Aesthetic Edit.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. And I love your banter.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's kind of fun to have a little audience for it. I mean, of course we have our audience, but to have you here too while we're doing it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We are just blown away by your stories. You're such an interesting person. Not only are you so talented, but just how you got here is just so interesting to me. Can you tell our audience a little bit about where you started And just even that story from when you were 15 years old, coming to America from Iran.
That's right. Yeah. When people ask me where I'm from, I always struggle with that because do you mean where I live or where I grew up or where I come from?
Yeah.
And so it's a long story, and I'll shorten it for you guys. So I arrived in the United States when I was 15 years old. I left. My family was in Iran still, and if I didn't leave at that point in my life, then I would have to be drafted into the military for obligatory service, and this is why they said, you go.
Wow.
So I came to Dallas because my uncle was here, and I stayed with family a little bit, and then I got my own apartment and worked all sorts of jobs. My first one was at Tom Thumb.
Yeah, what'd you do at Tom Thumb?
I was a
love
sacker.
That was my first job when I was 15.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
$5.25 an hour.
Yes.
Oh my
Shout out. Okay.
Yeah. And so many different jobs. Went to Newman Smith High School, and then went to college at UT Dallas. Studied neuroscience. Before graduating high school, though, it's something funny happened that changed the rest of my life. I was short half a credit.
Okay.
And I went to my counselor and said, okay, to graduate, with everybody else, what do I need to do? And they said, well, we have two options, either put you in tennis or French. So clearly tennis.
Wow.
So I showed up
Really?
to tennis, and they said, the class is full. You need to go back to your counselor and see what they can do. So they put me in French.
Wow.
I fell in love with the French language and culture.
Oh, wow.
So much so that right after high school, do you guys remember Priceline when you could bid on?
Yes, my mom
Yes.
did it all the time.
Yes.
Yeah. So I put in a bid for $300, and it took to
Oh my
go to
gosh.
France
my gosh.
round trip. So I just packed and left. Me, my guitar, and a little money I had at the time.
Oh my
I
So you
remember it
were
was
probably 18 years old at this time?
I was 18 years old.
Oh my
So
goodness.
bold.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
this is lots of bravery here in the
Well,
story.
remember, I was living here by myself, away from family anyway. So there was really not a big change to
It
go
wasn't a
from
big
here.
attachment
Exactly.
to stay there.
Right.
Oh
So,
my
I went, and then the flight was through Atlanta, and I lost my wallet at the Chinese food counter in the food court.
Oh.
What I didn't realize until I got back on the plane. I was, no money. We're going to Paris.
Was your
so
passport in there?
My passport was with me in my pocket,
Oh,
and I also had a $100 bill in my sock. Very, very,
Very
old
smart.
school.
I love that.
Move.
It's not getting
So I
pickpocketed.
arrived. Yeah. Luckily, the hostel was prepaid. I arrived to the place, fell asleep because of the jet lag. When I woke up, there was like 4 or 5 guys singing and stuff in that hostel room because
Oh my gosh.
it's shared.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we became friends and became a musical group.
Oh
later.
my gosh.
Are you serious?
So what
you
was-
created a boy band in France?
Yes,
The
amazing.
story just keeps getting better and
Yeah.
better. I'm obsessed.
So I had to make money somehow, and I knew how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was a guy from Algeria, and another one from Ruben, how he said it,
Oh.
from Germany. And we didn't share any common languages, but we communicated. And a beer or two would help for us to
I'm
communicate
sure.
too.
Uh-huh.
And we played outside of the metro station, the subway station.
Oh my
And-
gosh.
Crazy.
Just adapted whatever we knew how to sing and play to just kind of bring it to life. And
Oh my gosh.
It
And when people
supported us.
drop tips and everything, so that's how you made money while you
it
were
was in
crazy.
my guitar case.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, it wasn't so bad. I mean, at 18 years of age, we afforded the bottles of wine and
Yeah.
That is
cans
so
of tuna
fun.
fish. What else do you
Oh
need?
my
It's giving like
gosh.
Justin Bieber vibes.
It
You know
is.
those videos when he's on the porch and he's
Yes.
singing with his guitar.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Except he made it.
Well, you made it in other
just in a
ways.
different direction.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
So
my
what
goodness.
happened after France?
Well, I came back to the United States. Came back to Dallas. I was in college, and I met a girl.
Mm.
And this girl was introduced to me by one of our friends, who said to me, "This girl is also Iranian. She just moved from France. I think you guys would have something in common."
Wow.
So the 4 words in French that I knew, I polished upon, and I just went up to her and
Oh
started.
my gosh.
Anyway, 20 something years later, now she's my wife and the mother of my 3 daughters.
Oh
And
my
Oh my
yeah. So I
gosh.
came back here, studied neuroscience with her. And again, looking for jobs and whatnot. Do you guys remember monster.com? I'm bringing back all the old websites.
Yes.
So I found a job as a unit secretary at a hospital, medical center of Plano.
Okay.
Knew nothing about medicine or
Mhm.
how it all worked. But here I was, and I got the job. I needed it. And after a while, I thought maybe this medicine thing could be an idea. I mean, mind you, I never thought about medicine as a
Yeah.
career. I didn't grow up in a family that even had access to doctors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the first doctor in my immediate, extended, and beyond family.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't much like doctors.
Mm.
I just thought that sometimes we couldn't create rapport with them or
Yeah.
whatever, just couldn't connect. And we were sitting at a coffee shop, me and my now wife, Paria, who's a pediatric dentist in New York.
Mhm.
And we were sitting, and she said, "So, what are you thinking about? You know, all the stuff 20-year-olds or 19, 20-year-olds at the time talk about future and dreams and all that stuff." And I said, either I want to be a revolutionary like Che Guevara,
Mhm.
or I've been looking into medicine. Maybe that's not bad.
Yeah.
She's like, well, try it. Maybe you could, are you
Mhm.
good at sciences and stuff? I'm pretty good at sciences. Got back into college and kind of like put it all together to see if this as a possibility. And little by little I did. And here we
Oh
are.
my goodness. I love how you mentioned that you're from a family of creatives and artists and you're the first doctor.
Mhm.
And this is such an interesting topic because I think there's such a correlation between art
Mhm.
and science and the work that you do. And I love that you kind of married the both because you're a musician, you're an artist, and you're a surgeon.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about how your family influenced your passion for the work you do now?
Absolutely. This, in retrospect, they did all the work. They did all. They gave me all the motivation. I just
Mhm.
didn't know it, and I don't think it was ever put into the frame of go be a plastic surgeon. But everything I've done in my life kind of comes to this point. My mother is a painter. She's an accomplished painter. She's
Mhm.
phenomenal, and she just sees things in a very artistic way. I mean, she is an artist. My father, who passed last year, was a literary man. He was dabbled in poetry and read a lot. And we the wordplay was a big part of our dinner conversations.
Mhm.
Um, my two cousins played at Juilliard and Northeast or New England Conservatory School of Music. We were all
Wow.
into music. I've played guitar for a very long time.
Mhm.
I like photography. All of these things have one thing in common, and that is being able to appreciate what cannot be verbalized.
Mm.
And that's beauty to me.
To learn more about the Aesthetic Edit podcast, follow us on social media at the Aesthetic Edit podcast. We can be found on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
We'd love to hear from you if you have show ideas or guest recommendations for our future podcast episodes.
For me, I see beauty in so many different things, none of which is necessarily regulated or rectangulated. I'll explain that because nothing in nature is regulated or rectangulated.
Mhm.
We just like lines. Think about Dallas. You go down the streets, you know where you are until you get to downtown because it's no longer straight grid-like streets.
Yeah.
In nature, nothing is great grid-like, right? I mean,
Yeah.
not the waves of the ocean, not the edges of the leaves,
Mhm.
nothing is.
Mhm.
Yet we have this need for grid-like things,
Mhm.
and art breaks that, and I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah.
That it deconstructs our notions of discipline, and that's beauty.
Oh, I love that. And I love this appreciation that you have for art. I feel like I've seen it just from hearing your story come to play and you wanting to go into head and neck cancer surgery. And I know that you really took it to heart to do more reconstruction because a
Right.
lot of the surgery that has to be done for cases like that leaves you a little different than it started, whether that be appearance wise or functionality wise. And so what kind of led you to making that decision to actually wanting to do something that hadn't been done in the industry before?
So in 2007, me and Paria were having dinner, and a young Syrian man was
Mhm.
serving us, and he still had his cleft lip,
Mm.
wide
Oh.
cleft lip. And, I struggled on whether or not I should ask him, but I finally did. And I
Yeah.
said, "What is going on? Tell me your story." And he was very open about it. And he said, when he was younger, they couldn't afford it. And later he just kind of learned to live with it. And I asked, do you wish you could fix it now?
Yeah.
And he said, yes. And that led me and Paria to think about the access issues and just general awareness about facial differences.
Mm-hmm.
And we became very much into this thing. We created an organization called Chance to Smile. We would bring together doctors, nurses, other healthcare professionals, and we would collect supplies and fly all this to places that there was need. We did Mexico, Nicaragua, a number of places. And I found this such a rewarding experience, except I realized that by doing this, there is something missing, and that's continuity of care. You're going there, you're operating. Yes, it's a very positive thing. It's rewarding for the surgeon. It helps the patient. But it's better to go there and teach the surgeons how to do it. You know, the give a man a fish versus teach a man how to fish story. So little by little, this became an educational organization. But back to the cancer talk. So I went into ear, nose, and throat surgery, and I trained at Mount Sinai, New York Eye and Ear Infirmary in New York City, and it was a heavy cancer, head and neck cancer center of excellence. And you know, seeing and dealing with cancer patients is very moving. It's you know, the one question we have as humans, regardless of the biggest smiles we have on our faces, is that we are by definition on a clock, right? I mean, we are by definition doing everything because we know there is an end, or else we would just sit here for hours and hours if there's no end, and there would be no motivation, correct?
Yeah.
And when you talk to a cancer patient, they have now stared that clock in the face, telling them so many days or so many months remaining.
Wow.
And that creates a very unusual psychiatric change that gives these patients insights often into what's important and what's not.
Wow.
And so it's the most real conversations you'll ever have.
Wow.
It's the most amazing end of life decisions, important things, that the grandson's drawing is more important than any possession that this man has ever had.
Yeah.
And any number of things like this. So I really became emotionally invested in caring for cancer patients. And I went into, heavy cancer and reconstructive mode in my training. So big emphasis on that. And afterward, I sought out additional training for head and neck cancer and reconstruction, including microvascular flaps, skull-based surgery, etc. And that's what I did. And in fact, my first position was as the director of head and neck and reconstructive surgery. Guess where? At that same hospital where I started out as the unit secretary.
Medical City of Plano?
Medical City of
Plano.
Plano.
Oh my gosh.
That is incredible.
In fact, 20 years later, when I came back as the director of head and neck cancer, we went for a tour of the hospital, and some of the nurses recognized me. They still called me Masoud. It was perfect. It was unbelievable. They're like, yeah.
They're like, what are you doing back here?
Very cool. Exactly. Yeah.
I'd be curious for you to explain in a little bit more detail what it looks like to make one of these patients who's experiencing this cancer, making them whole again. Like what pieces is it from their throat that gets taken from them because they had esophagus cancer? Is it something from their cheeks or their nose? What does that look like?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Head and neck cancers are many. I mean, it's not one thing. It's an umbrella term. It refers to any cancer that affects the head or the neck, not the brain, right?
Okay.
So includes the eyes. We would remove the entire eye and then reconstruct the socket.
Wow.
It could be the cheekbones. It could be the jaw itself. I mean, we would remove the jaw and then we reconstruct the jaw with tissue from the leg, bone from the leg. Sometimes we place implants into the bone from the leg and then shape it like a jaw and place it. And then we would take the artery and the vein into the neck and under a microscope with these tiny, tiny sutures that are thinner than a thread of hair, put these together to reestablish vascular flow.
Okay.
But it could also be other things like the esophagus, the voice box. You know, we could remove the voice box in the process called laryngectomy, and any number of things, the nose included. I mean, often cancers that involve the nose deform the nose, and they come to diagnosis much later than others because initially they're hidden on the inside. And then we would have to remove the entire nose, reconstruct the nose with tissue such as rib to create the structure, lining of the inside of the nose, and then tissue from the forehead to reconstruct the outside of the nose. The face is a very interesting place. First of all, the anatomy is intricate. The neck as well. I mean, think about it. Every single nerve from here that goes to the body has to pass through the neck.
That's so crazy.
And the face is not something you can hide, right? I mean, breast cancer, very common, very devastating, but you can reconstruct it. The function is minimal, and reconstruction doesn't have to be near perfect because you can hide it. Although, our colleagues are doing an amazing job making them near perfect.
Yeah.
But you still have options to hide behind a imperfectly done breast reconstruction. You don't have that luxury in the face or the neck. In a laryngectomy, for example, swallowing is affected, phonation, speaking is affected. You guys remember back in the day those electric voice generators? Yeah. So that's the kind of patient to think about. Okay, so how do we establish speech? There's prosthesis that we place. There's things that we do. Cancer gets out to the neck. And the face, you can't hide it. Yeah. So it affects the person you are because you're perceived differently. The face is how you face the world, right? Yeah. So if that is deformed by now trauma, cancer, any number of or poor reconstruction, then you are affected in a very profound way as a person.
You said how it affects how you face the world. And it takes me back to the studies that people have done of they'll do makeup on somebody and put a scar on their face or somewhere where it's really noticeable and then send them into an interview versus they did the interview before without the scar on their face, and their confidence and their personality and their demeanor was a lot more reserved when they had the scar on their face because they felt like it was a part of them. And so I think it's really cool that what you're doing is bringing a lot more confidence to people. And did a lot of patients that had cancer, did they not know that this was an option for them if it was in their head or their neck? Or is this something that there's enough attention around it now that they know that that's an option for them?
Yes. Previously, there was not enough awareness about aesthetic reconstruction.
Yeah.
Whereas now there are centers of excellence throughout the world focused on this. And I think that's amazing. This is actually what we created at Medical Center of Plano, something that I'm very, very proud of. We created a team of 50 providers to focus on the different aspects of head and neck care. Yeah. For example, radiation causes lack of saliva, dryness of the mouth, and therefore caries. So all the teeth need to be potentially removed prior to radiation, or sometimes afterward to be restored. Speech is affected. The whole process of swallowing. So you need speech and swallow therapy afterward. There is a lot that's involved, and you really need a center of excellence. That's one of the points of pride in my life was to have been able to create that from scratch here in North Texas. And it's so rewarding and so powerful to see, because when these patients are given that diagnosis of cancer, a aesthetic reconstruction is not necessarily on their mind. And they are so happy should they be cured or at least delayed from that cancer that sometimes they don't focus enough on the effect and the psychological effect of that deformity on their psyche and on their surroundings and their social perception.
Yeah.
So we see that patients that have undergone aesthetic reconstructions lead better lives. There's studies showing this, and they're less depressed and more prosperous just throughout all aspects of their lives. It's important.
To connect with today's guest, you can find him on social media at Saman Plastic Surgery or at samanmd.com. That's SAMAN. I love the story about how you got started in head and neck cancer surgery. Can you tell us about how that experience led you to now being a board certified facial plastic surgeon and how the things that you learned there translate into how you serve your patients today?
Yeah, I did my training in both of these disciplines at the same time. So I finished head and neck cancer surgery, then I trained in facial plastic surgery, then I started my career. So all along, I was thinking about the aesthetic reconstruction, as I mentioned earlier. And little by little, I started finding such satisfaction and reward in seeing the aesthetic patients doing well, the quality of life issues, that my focus shifted somewhat from saving lives to improving lives. And, as I mentioned, we had that established center of excellence that was doing its a perfect job. We had new head and neck cancers, and I had a little bit of more time to focus on now the aesthetic things. And having come from the family that loves beauty, that enjoys seeing all things beautiful, and my background in the arts and my background in facial plastic surgery, I decided to now focus on it full time. So this change occurred, and it was not an easy one for me, Mary. I definitely felt like I was giving up on a lot of training and on a lot of the patients that I had. And I saw every single patient through to make sure that I don't leave any of them without appropriate care. But I started focusing on aesthetics, and this is what I do now 100% of the time. Aesthetic surgery for me is a way of improving what you don't like. It's not about I need surgery; it's an I want surgery. Versus reconstructive surgery, it's a need surgery. So when we look into aesthetic surgery and we talk to the patients, it's a question of what is it that bothers you? Whereas I see a reconstructive patient, I immediately know. It's obvious what the issue is. So aesthetic care is more about a conversation. It's more about a understanding, getting into my patient's head, understanding what bothers you, and whether or not I can realistically improve what it is that you don't like in order to make you happy. And sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes either the perceived deformity is not there, or that I cannot correct it in a way that improves the patient's life. So it's very important to be able to understand the patient, their background, where they're coming from, and to see is surgical skill can or cannot improve that. With the reconstructive background, I bring a very unusual, very few cosmetic surgeons or aesthetic surgeons were cancer surgeons before. So, I get to kind of look at this as a whole thing when I look at the patient and I talk with them, because we have to also keep it real. In social media now, there's just so much nonsense about perfect symmetry or perfection. On my Instagram, I talk a lot about perfection does not exist. I don't even know what that means. Or perfect symmetry doesn't exist. In fact, if it did exist, we would lose all charm as humans. We would be robot-like,
and character. And it's, social media has created this unrealistic expectation that everything has to be absolutely symmetrical, perfect, and it's turning us into almost aliens in a sense, and everyone looks the exact same. How are you addressing that in your practice when you're working with patients and maybe they're showing you pictures on their phone of, I want to look like this?
That clearly look edited or filtered.
I feel sad about it. I feel that, I had a picture put up of me and my daughter at a soccer game where she was playing and she passed the ball to me, and I'm like laughing, maybe in a non very flattering way, but I thought it was a sweet picture.
You're being real. You're living your life.
And people just went to town on how my laughter is awkward, or my upper lip needs to have more volume, or that I have a neck, whatever, And even though I was like, whatever, it really affected me. And and that night when I was going to bed, I said to myself, I'm in my 40s. What am I worried about? Who are these people? They don't even know me, but yet I feel somewhat attacked. And I felt bad for all the people growing up now, before their full development, being exposed to this kind of bullying, which is out of proportion. And this is the problem with social media. You see all these 10 out of 10 models when you look through social media, but where are they? I mean, I live in New York City. I am exposed to many, many people walking around, just walking around. Everybody's out walking. I don't see those bobs. Where are they?
I don't see them.
So it's very, very deceiving, and it's very ill. And this is a problem. And I don't allow that in my practice. First of all, I speak about it often enough on my social media that those patients who want the fake stuff don't come to me to begin with.
I love it. Keep doing that.
It's the way to do it.
But then let's just find joy and beauty in how we are. I have no problems, no qualms with improving yourself.
Yeah.
But to wish to look like someone else,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need to see a plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
You need to see another kind of doctor.
There are other doctors for that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this obsession with full symmetry is not good, is not healthy, and it's not attainable.
Yeah.
And if it were, you wouldn't look like you.
What procedures are available right now that are creating more problems than they are solutions and leaving people looking fake?
Yeah, there are a lot of things out there, guys, in the aesthetic market that either don't work or they're harmful. And I have a lot of candid opinions about that.
Let's hear it.
Candid. This is our favorite kind.
We're on the edge of our seat. Let's hear it.
Yes.
Unfiltered, please.
Yes, of course. Look, the majority of the things on the market are for one reason and one reason alone, and that's for the company that makes them to make money.
Sure.
Okay. So there are things that work, there are things that don't work, and there's things that harm you. So things that work that are on the aesthetic market, non-surgical, Botox, that's great. Minimal fillers, that's fine. And then there's things that just plain don't work. Kybella is one of those things. Okay. I was always bothered by the convexity of my neck. I went and did this twice. First of all, it burned like hell and it swelled up like a bullfrog for 2 weeks. I was like so self-conscious about it.
Wow.
And then when it went down, no change.
I've had that done and you explained it beautifully. I actually got it done right here. I've always been super self-conscious. I don't know if there's a more medical term to reference this to, but I have like armpit fat. That would be right here and it would just be.
I mean, I think everyone does.
Everybody
honestly.
does.
Right.
Everybody does. But when you're younger, you get super insecure about things. And so I knew somebody who was getting Kybella under their chin and I was like doing research and I was like, it's a fat burner and it makes it go away forever. Like, this is crazy. It's got to work in different areas. Like, let me see, because I had tried all these things and I'd been doing research and this is genetic, like all these things. So I was like, what can I do to get rid of this? Because nothing I'm doing is working. And I looked into getting it done. And I think I had one syringe put in for both of my underarm areas. It blew up like crazy.
That's insane.
We need to pan in some of the photos into this episode so that y'all can see it. Because I'm not kidding. It looked crazy. It was bruised and swollen and it burned. It did. And it took a really long time for it to go down. I actually like got lumps under my arm from it until they like fully went away. But the difference
you're
was
lucky
very,
that they went away.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And in some patients, it stays, and that's scar tissue. One of the fallacies of the aesthetic market is that everything is sold with the promise that it will create collagen. Okay, and we think that's a good thing. Do you know what scar tissue is made of? Collagen. That's correct. So anything that causes deep scarring, we say it creates collagen. Another one of those things, absolute garbage, does not work, is threads. Threads do not work. Anatomically, it just is in the wrong place. And from the standpoint of biomechanics and biodynamics of the face, just doesn't work. It makes absolutely no sense. You're essentially moving the skin up for a little bit and it stays there for about 2 weeks before it drops. That's it. In fact, aging doesn't happen at the level of the skin. It happens deeper than that.
Yeah.
You know?
For the patient that wants the traditional facelift, right? Because there's kind of a debate on both sides of the fence. Because there's the surgical debate, why you need surgery, we want to cut, we want to lift, and then there's the non-surgical debate. In your experience, what's the best way to address patients who are experiencing droopiness and sagginess through the natural process of aging?
If they like the facial rejuvenation procedure, we would have to look and see where the issue is. If it's at the level of the skin, meaning skin texture, blemishes, this kind of thing, then non-surgical modalities work very well. But if it's anything deeper than that, you need to address it surgically, at least at the present moment. None of the non-surgical modalities right now address the deeper structures. The reason is that the majority are heat-based. And in order to deliver that, you need to enter the subcutaneous tissue or deliver it from the outside, either with needles or just radiofrequency. The face aging happens deeper, right at the level of the muscles or the structure we call it the SMAS. And we need to go underneath that and pull it back to where it was to reposition it. That's where the facial nerve is. That's where live a lot of important structures. So you cannot put a device that delivers heat to that area or you risk paralysis. So none of these devices really deliver where they need to. So instead they deliver deep enough to be deep to the skin, causing scarring between the skin and that SMAS layer that we need to bring up. And that actually makes our surgery later more complicated and more problematic. So my answer is just either don't do half stuff or do it right. I mean, what is the point of wasting your time and money if you're not mentally prepared for that downtime, for that transformation? Then wait until you are. If you're not financially prepared, just wait until you are. Don't do something that would harm you. Threads or M-Sculpt. I mean, what garbage is that?
Yeah.
It provides electromagnetic stimulation of the muscles, causing muscle overactivity. Okay, great. That's nice. It's like going to the gym. But do you think you lose weight? Do you lose belly fat if you go do ab crunches? You don't. Because fat loss is a global caloric intake and metabolic issue. It's not about working a specific area. So I could go work out my abs and I'm never going to lose weight over my belly.
Oh my gosh, me and my brother have this conversation all the time with my family because half of my family thinks that doing ab workouts are the best thing in the entire world and that's how you get abs. Whereas me and my brother don't believe in ab workouts. We just think if you eat right and you're active, then you lose weight and then your abs come out.
As long as you have some, you have some core strength, then, they'll show. Yeah,
exactly.
So, there is a lot of junk out there, guys. Just, make sure that you don't fall for all the glitz and the glam and who, what celebrity did what procedure. Who cares what celebrity did what? Yeah. Because you think, I don't know, KK has some expertise in facial plastic surgery.
Well, they might not be being transparent about what they're getting done. They might say it's something else just because it's an ad and they can get paid for it. But they actually had 5 other things that they had done to get the true results that they're then advertising.
100%. Yeah. 100%. It's all smoke and mirrors. And it's really sad that it's like that. But then there are a lot of people in our industry, providers at any level that are truth tellers. And they'll say it like it is, even if they're going to be canceled. And so be it. And we need more of that.
So Dr. Saman, what is your hot take on the biggest advancements happening right now in facial plastic surgery?
Oh my God. Absolutely. The word is preservation. Preservation rhinoplasty and preservation facelift. So that means that we're preserving all the structures that we don't need to cut or dissect, which allows for better healing, still much improved results, and quicker recovery, which means less downtime and long-lasting results because you don't have to sit and with drains and stuff that can cause problems later down the line with scarring. Preservation rhinoplasty is where we don't really cut up here and we modify the nose in a different way. It's unbelievable the way that the concept has come about and it's been popularized by Yves Saban in France since 2018. And I'm one of the first ones in the United States to be doing it. And I've had phenomenal results with very happy patients because now we are not distorting the anatomy. Preservation facelift, one of my good friends in Toronto has been a pioneer in it, Mike Roskis, along with others who essentially are now saying we don't need to lift up the skin to pull it. We need to just dive deep immediately, release all the retaining ligaments and reposition the face exactly the way it fell down with gravity. This is how we restore you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, you're pulling and you look like somebody else. And the goal is to make you and keep you looking like you.
Oh, yeah.
And finally, ultrasonic rhinoplasty. We no longer break the bones. We use an ultrasonic blade to shape the bones. Think about a window. You can throw a brick into it or you can use a glass cutter. And the results are not the same.
What are the key differences between a traditional rhinoplasty and a preservation rhinoplasty? That's
a great question. In traditional rhinoplasty, often we're dealing with the hump, right? So we lift up the skin, we go up here, and we cut across the hump. Okay, and sounds innocuous enough. However, the bone and the cartilage collaborate in a joint-like fashion in this area, so we're destroying a joint. And then we have to reconstruct it. And all of that brings about elements that create unnatural results. In a preservation rhinoplasty, we go deep, we remove some septum, create space, and then open up that joint, which is a significant improvement in the aesthetics of the dorsum because it's untouched. So think about a 2-story building. You can go and destroy the top floor, right? And then recreate the roof. That's the old school rhinoplasty. In preservation rhinoplasty, we're removing the bottom floor and gently bringing the top floor down.
Wow. Yeah. Can you fix a deviated septum with the preservation rhinoplasty?
Absolutely. The septum has to be addressed in order to create space, And at the same time, we fix it too. So the septum is the key to a good rhinoplasty. That's very important.
Social Practice would love to offer your practice a free social media audit. Visit us on social media at Social Practice US. Click the link in our bio to claim your free audit today.
Okay, Dr. Saman, you have built up an incredible presence online, a great following, great engagement. What would you say are the best practices that you have seen the most success with for building that presence?
So thank you, first of all. It took years. I think you just got to be you. Simple. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to repeat other people's trends or, punchlines. Just be you. Speak authentically. Speak the truth. People aren't dumb. They know what's real and what's not. There is something very intrinsically human about us that allows us to detect BS and we all have it and we're very good at it. And so, when something doesn't ring true, people know. So if you want authentic followers, then be authentic you. Speak the truth about symmetry and perfection. I cannot deliver those things. I have as a bit of a joke, I have a card for a magician friend that I hand out. I say, if you want perfection, you need to see my friend.
My gosh.
But I can't do that. My goal is to improve what's bothering you. That's it. Consistency.
I think one of my favorite things about you specifically is I know you just did a series recently and it was like, I don't care if I get canceled, but blah, blah, blah. Is that something that you have also found successful is like you said, speaking your truth and not really caring about pleasing other people, but just getting your information out there because there are so many people getting out there that might not be experts in that area.
Exactly.
You educate the audience.
So the reason I came up with that particular name was that one of the biggest aesthetic companies had a rep in Dallas who came to my office one day and threatened to cancel me essentially because I mentioned something about their product. And that just didn't sit well with me. So I came out with this whole project to go, I don't care if I'm canceled, and to speak the truth about what I think works and what I think doesn't work. Expertise, guys, this might be a shocker for many, is gained. It is not just claimed. Okay. So you have to work to become an expert. I know what things I know and I know what things I don't know. Unfortunately, many think that there are things they know when they don't. And that's so true in the aesthetic market. We used to look up to experts. Now everyone's an expert. And that dilutes relativity of knowledge value.
What advice do you have for providers, doctors who are just getting comfortable on social media or open to the idea? How do they find that confidence to be honest and transparent about who they are, what they believe in, and what their expertise is?
It's hard, right? I mean, it's hard for all of us to relax. I mean, even at this podcast, I had to take a few deep breaths to be able to settle in, It's hard when you have a camera on you, a microphone in front of you, and all these people are sharing with you their unsolicited thoughts and opinions. And so you just have to stop caring. Nobody should care about somebody else's opinion unless they agree with that opinion. Because you live your life, be respectful, be socially intelligent, coexist, don't pick fights, but do what you think is right. And your brain works well.
It reminds me of the idea of scarcity versus abundance mindset. So the way you show up to me mirrors the idea. You have this energy of abundance and that what is for you will find you. And so what I love about your presence is how authentic you are, how honest and genuine you are, but you also have this caring piece. And you're someone who it just feels like it comes so naturally to you. So I think that's one area where with our clients that we work with, we're always looking for, different ways we can encourage and coach them in just leaning into who they are and just telling that story as authentically as they can.
No, I understand that. Sometimes I listen to podcasts or other very intelligent people talk and I say to myself, God, I wish I could speak like this guy, or look at that take, or look at that thought process. And I admire them. And I love that there's so many people I look up to, but no one can say what I think the way I can say what I think.
Yeah.
Right? Same for you, same for you, same for everybody. And we should be proud of that.
Yeah.
That's your superpower, right? Isn't that what they told us when we were little?
Yeah. And it's so funny because that's such a universal concept. And to wrap up today's episode, it brings me to this new project you're working on, which is to be confident and comfortable being you, but from more of the aspect of how you physically look. Can you tell us a little bit about the project you're working on in New York City?
Yeah, so it's called Face NYC. And because the goal is to reveal faces face by face in New York City. And then hopefully I'll expand it to other places as well.
So
the reason it came about was, again, this talk about perfection and symmetry. I feel, like I said, sad and bad for these kids who look up to these fake and modulated and manipulated photos on social media. And like I said, I yet have to see one of these perfect faces that I see on social media out on the street. So I want to just take thousands of photos, and we've started with consistent lighting and background in Central Park, where we stop individuals, we ask them a few questions about their background and what they have or have not done to their face and how they feel about their face. And then we take a macro photo very up close of their face. And my goal is to show that A, unmanipulated faces are beautiful.
Yeah.
2, asymmetry is beautiful.
Yeah.
And imperfection is beautiful. And this is who we are. And we need to accept ourselves for who we are.
Yeah.
And I hope to be able to show that, especially to the youth of our society, that look at all these beautiful faces walking around. This is reality. Come out of this screen. Look at what's real and what's around you. Because if you chase this unattainable perfection, you'll never get there. And you'll end up with depression and disappointment and all the negative things.
Wow. That is so, so good. Dr. Saman, I have one more question for you. So the waiter that you shared the story around who had the cleft lip, did he ever get it fixed?
I don't know. We lost touch. He was in touch with our organization for about 2 years. He went back to Syria over a summer, came back, and then we lost touch, just life.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I wonder if in the book that you're creating, if you guys end up coming across some people who have some sort of, cleft lip or something going on, to truly, again, tell that story of how all faces are unique and beautiful in their own way.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I don't know. I don't pick and choose. Anybody who allows me to take a photograph, I will take a photograph of, because there's power in numbers, and I want to show that. Really, that's the goal of this. However, I wrote an article in 2011 about the effect of social effect of facial differences and how people are ostracized or sometimes stigmatized because of their social differences, especially in certain cultures that is considered as a punishment for the mother's infidelity.
Yeah.
And so a lot goes on with that, but that's a whole separate topic. That's fascinating, but it's not quite part of this project.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Saman, Savannah and I are so grateful that you were here today. Thank you for sharing so many incredible stories. We are so excited to keep up with you just from here on out on your social media and just continue to see your practice grow and thrive.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you guys having me and taking interest in what I have to say.
Oh my gosh, of course.
Appreciate it.
We wish you all the best. We're so on board with your vision and your mission and everything, but thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Stay real.
I'll be visiting you in New York.
Yes.
I can't wait.
You and I will be booking a consultation.
Perfect. You'll be another picture I'm going to take.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Bye. See y'all next time. You can find us on social media at the Aesthetic Edit Podcast.
We're on all podcast platforms, so don't forget to subscribe, and we'd love to hear from you.
And follow Social Practice on social media. You can find us at Social Practice US.
If you'd like to become a guest on the podcast, visit our webpage at social-practicetx.com/the-aesthetic-edit.